Hello everyone, Eureka Forsythe here. For this video, I will be doing my first wrap-up regarding all the stuff I read from roughly about the start of this year. Without further ado, let me tell you all about my thoughts on these books. The first book I read at the start of 2022 was the Decagon House Murders by Yukido Ayatsuji. It's told from two perspectives. The main perspective is from 7 university students who belong in a mystery club at their school. The students visit the island where the titular Decagon house is built. There, the purpose of the retreat is to brainstorm and think of the perfect short story to write and then publish in their yearly literary magazine. The other is a group of 3 men who are alumni of the same university and also belonged to the same mystery club when they were students. Their perspective explores their independent investigation on the mystery regarding the burning of the Decagon house and about the owner's relations with both his family and friends. Let's start with the positives. One of my favorite things about the Decagon House Murders is how all of the student cast have nicknames based on famous mystery writers. The writers mentioned are Ellery Queen, John Dixon Carr, Edgar Allan Poe, Gaston Leroux, S.S. Van Dyne, Baroness Orczy, and Agatha Christie. Of course, each member's nicknames also relate to their personalities and motives as well. One of the things I liked most about the Decagon House Murders is the timeless feeling you get when reading the novel. From the way the characters from both casts are described, with the short moments of respite that include meals from the alumni cast, and just the writing style exuding a classic kind of vibe that readers can easily grasp. One of my favorite parts is when Shimada takes Kawaminami out for lunch and they go to a quaint, old-fashioned cafe. Kawaminami orders pizza toast and coffee for himself while Shimada has himself a whole pot of Earl Grey tea. The whole scene that plays out is very calm and relaxed, a nice lull and contrast from the dark moments of what the students experience on the island in the other POV. Now, let's get into the parts that I didn't like about this book. I'll be talking about spoilers near the end of the book, so if you are interested and haven't read the Decagon House Murders, please skip ahead. I will put a timestamp in the description when I do edits. Now, of course, of a book titled with the word murders, I was of course expecting murders. What I wasn't expecting was having all of the main cast wiped out by one culprit. I guess to some this is what makes this book stand out for pulling this kind of twist, but I didn't much care for it. I was expecting maybe a few survivors from the student's perspective and some kind of adrenaline-fueled escape situation which would give the reader a will they or won't they survive scenario. That probably would have made it okay if the final surviving members of the mystery club all died, but they all were murked at the Decagon house or around its premises. Of course, this is symbolic because of the revenge the culprit wanted to enact on the club members, but I still think it's a very boring reason for them to all die at one location. I also didn't like that excluding the 2 female characters in the student side of the main cast, the other female characters that were present in the book were all pretty forgettable and boxed into more traditional roles, such as being mothers or wives. The Decagon House Murders is a book published originally in 1987, so some things should be taken with a grain of salt still. I am thankful that the female characters are described in a more, while odd, clinical way than being openly misogynistic towards them. A manga adaptation was originally released on November 22, 2019 in Japan, while the English release was set to be on August 17, 2021. It is illustrated by Hiro Kiyohara, whose work you may have seen for Another's manga adaptation. The manga was published by Kodansha, while the English translation was licensed by Kodansha USA. I'm not really sure about this adaptation, frankly, and you may understand why I think that way if you're someone who has also finished reading the original novel. The art looks gorgeous, but I don't think that's enough to convince me to get it. Let me know your thoughts on what you think of the Decagon House Murders manga. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars. The next book I read is One by One, which is a mystery thriller by Ruth Ware. The book is about a group of co-workers who work for a music app startup called Snoop. They go on a weekend retreat to the French Alps to stay at a ski chalet. When one group decides to spring an unexpected deal at a meeting, things begin to tense and tensions rise amongst the main cast. This is a bit of a small detail, but I really enjoyed the food parts written in this book. The Snoop employees are staying at a high-end chalet, so I am glad we get to know just what sort of meals the main cast gets to eat. I liked reading from both perspectives, for example, one of the staff interacting with one of the POV characters as they cooked, and the Snoop cast and their personal tastes. One thing I wish Ruth Ware had done was made the music listed at each perspective change mean something in regards to each chapter, especially when the stakes get high at the later parts of the book. It'd be cool to have appropriately tense music to match with the vibe of the chapter. Other than that, I didn't have many other complaints regarding this book. Fast-paced, interesting characters, and there are some serious issues regarding workplace culture that get discussed in here as well. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book has been raved about by both romance and non-romance readers alike. And my verdict is, they are correct. This book really lives up to the hype, and I would highly recommend it, especially to non-romance readers. Book Lovers is written by Emily Henry and is about a cutthroat and hardworking protagonist named Nora Stevens. The main shtick of this novel is subverting the trope of the cold city girlfriend that is usually set up as the antagonist in Hallmark holiday and/or romance films. The book begins to really kick off when Nora's sister arranges for them to take a vacation break in a small town and to fulfill a to-do list during their stay in Sunshine Falls. I adore Nora's character and really related to her a lot. I also love that a huge emphasis is put upon that Nora is fine just the way she is, and she doesn't need to change for anyone. Her hobbies and her personality are accepted as is, and her standing to being herself is one of the reasons the love interest is attracted to her in the first place. I know most people go into romance books for escapism, but I like my romance books to have some realism to it. I think that's why I enjoyed Book Lovers so much, because not only do we get to know Nora and the love interest, personalities, and hobbies/interests, we also get to know their dynamics within their own families as well. We got to know them intimately in their personal lives outside of their romance, which I really appreciated and made them seem more fleshed out and like a real person you could possibly meet in real life. The infamous third act conflict within romance books was also done well and was handled in a realistic way. Unexpectedly, I gave this book 5 stars. The fourth book I read is She Loves to Cook and She Loves to Eat, which is a josei manga with girls' love, GL elements written and drawn by Sakaomi Yuzaki. The manga is about 2 women, Nomoto and Kazuka, and upon meeting one another, discover their shared love of enjoying and appreciating food. The tone is lighthearted and sweet, while also talking about societal issues regarding how women are viewed in both the workplace and in their personal lives. While the manga touches upon some serious issues, it is only done so as a brief spotlight, without delving into each topic too deeply. I understand why this was done, since the manga's tone is lighthearted, but it would be nice if the next volume can return to these subjects and elaborate on them more. The art is very lovely, and the way the food is drawn made me feel hungry multiple times when I read through the book. If you're looking for a slice-of-life manga about food, female friendship, and also the possibility of sapphic love developing in future volumes, this is something for you. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Also, the manga artist is helping to support LGBTQ+ people with a charity shop. You can read more about it in the links provided in the description. Please show support if you are able to as well. The quintessential haunted house story, The Haunting of Hill House, is written by Shirley Jackson. The book is about 4 people who find themselves in the ominous presence of the Hill House mansion upon the request of Dr. Montague's research project regarding supernatural occurrences and the occult. They are set to stay for 1 summer, but things begin to turn strange and the lines of reality begin to blur. I will be honest, I wasn't scared most of the time while reading this book. There were definitely moments that were unsettling, and I was even creeped out once, but for me, there wasn't much of a scare factor. This was highly recommended by one of my favorite directors, Guillermo del Toro, and it had scared the daylights out of author Carmen Maria Machado. I highly recommend reading her memoir, In the Dream House. It's incredibly heartrending and super important. There is also a timeless feeling to Shirley Jackson's writing, even when I do notice some things or details that are a bit outdated. Even though this book was originally published in 1959, I feel the topics written within are still relevant even today. Experiencing loneliness, desperately wanting to connect with others, and finding a place to belong from the perspective of an adult still resonates with many readers today. I gave The Haunting of Hill House 4 out of 5 stars. And last, but certainly not least, The Chronicles of Light. The short stories compiled in this book are written by Banri Oda, Natsuko Ishikawa, Daichi Hiroi, Yuko Kimura, John Crow and Naoki Yoshida. The cover and interior illustrations are drawn by Toshiyuki Itahana. FF14 is one of my top favorite video games of all time, so I was super excited when I found out this book was finally coming back to print, and the pre-orders were going to open up. Maybe in a later video I can find a subject to talk about, just so I can have an excuse to gush about how much I love this game. But for now, let's continue. This book also has 4 additional news stories penned, those being The Hunt Begins, The Players and the Pawns, Ever After, and The Samurai Who Couldn't Die. The short stories contained within are written in the usual luscious and antiquated writing style you'll find in the game's text as well. You can definitely get a feel of the old-fashioned fantasy feel that the game successfully portrays both online and in this book. My favorite stories are Vows Unbroken, Thoughts Unspoken, In Darkness Blooms the Lily, When the Wager Pays Off, From Azure Ashes, and A Calm After the Storm. I remember crying reading Thoughts Unspoken and When the Wager Pays Off. If you know, you know. The lore in FF14 is vast and super intriguing, and it really is showcased perfectly in this compiled book. If you ever decide to pick it up, I suggest you play the game first, since there will be heavy spoilers in basically all of the stories, specifically for expansions of Realm Reborn to Stormblood. But I highly recommend it because the game is so fun and immersive, and there's so much players can do, since they cater to a lot of different playstyles in this game. Don't make me read the free trial copy, pasta. Just kidding. You can also read these short stories for free on Lodestone while hovering over Play Guide and clicking on side stories and more. The book was incredible and made me feel nostalgic for the journey I took while playing FF14. 5 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and/or subscribe if you like what you see. You can find me on other socials on Twitter, co-host, and Storygraph under Eureka Forsythe with no spaces. Until the next video, IDU Unit 01 Eureka Forsythe signing off.